Enter Jon Stewart. I'm sorry to bring him back up. I know you had a negative experience on his show, which we talked about the last time, but this is making the rounds today. And I've had many negative experiences with Jon Stewart, for the record. So he decides to come in. By the way, he has a long history of bigoted comments, remarks, jokes, misogynistic comments, remarks, jokes. He is in no position to be lecturing any of us on issues like gender or race or misogyny, no position. But he comes out, and here's a bit of the open from his latest episode on his Apple show that no one other than my producers apparently is watching. Here's a bit.
It wasn't always like this, people. As recently as, let's say, the 1990s, early 2000s, people were making shitty, reductive jokes about the subject. What can I say? The joke rhymed. Shitty and reductive jokes are kind of my brand. But as we know from history, any moment of progressive visibility will be met with a vicious backlash.
There are two genders.
There are two genders, and everyone knows it.
Ain't but two genders.
That last guy sounded like it's an emergency and we're running out of genders. Everyone, there ain't but two genders. I don't want to have to start rationing genders.
Then he went on to suggest that Arnold Schwarzenegger saying girly girl, and people talking about, man's man, girly girl. What was it, Steve? Whatever it was. A girly man, that all of these set the stage for an admission by the rest of the world that gender is a spectrum. You see? That's what they were really acknowledging. And that any pushback now is artificial. Like that you've already admitted it. You've given up the game by taking those positions. And then goes on to cross-examine the Arkansas Attorney General on why states don't listen to the experts on what these children need. Here's how that went.
All of those physicians, all of those experts, for every single one of them, there's an expert that says we don't need to allow children to be able to take those medications. That there are many instances where...
But that's not true. It's not for everyone. There's one. These are the established.
Well, I don't know that's not true. I don't know that.
Then why would you pass a law then if you don't know that that's true? Wouldn't you?
Well, I know that there are doctors, and that we had plenty of people come and testify before our legislature who said that we have 98% of the young people who have gender dysphoria, that they are able to move past that, and once they have the help that they need, no longer suffer from gender dysphoria. 98% without that medical treatment.
That's an incredibly made-up figure.
I'm sorry, but that's such douchebaggery. He doesn't know.
Well, here's the thing, Megyn, just on that very last point. That figure is out of her head. That's not a correct.
It's over 70%. Well, you don't know that that's over her.
It's about 80%.
But she said she had, but she's saying she had experts come and testify before Congress, before the Arkansas State Legislature on it. I haven't gone back and listened to that hearing. I don't know that that's not true. I wasn't somebody who voted on it, so I don't need to know. But it's very possible somebody came in and said, we did a study at the following clinic and found that 98% will come out of it if left alone. Abigail Schreier, who we've talked about, her book said, indicate nearly 70% of kids who experience childhood gender dysphoria and are not affirmed or socially transitioned eventually outgrow it. Well, you and I have talked before about how a lot of these kids just wind up being gay. They're not trans. So the number is high. It's very high. It's probably upwards of 70, perhaps upwards of 88. But him saying you just made up that number of 98, we don't know that. Did he listen to the hearing? I guarantee you he didn't.
Well, there have been, the trouble is the statistics on this are very hard to get, as you can imagine. It's very hard to find these kids early and have large studies which have any kind of blind controls on them. It's very difficult. But we do know this, that lots of kids have some sort of conflict with their sex. I mean, and mostly they're gay. Let me tell you about myself, because this might help. As I was approaching puberty and I could see that these things were going to happen to my body, And I tended not to be into team sports. I did not reflect the stereotypical rough-housing boy. I was more withdrawn. I was quieter. I was interested in books. So I'm like, well, can I function as a male? Will I function as a male? And at some point of me was like, I don't know. I'm slightly panicked. I don't know. A lot of kids before they go through puberty get these panics. But I went through it, partly because no one gave a shit anyway back in those days, excuse my language. And as I went through it, it resolved everything. Because as a human, that's what happens. When puberty happens, you are transformed. You begin to understand what your sex is, why it makes you different than the other sex. You come to love it. You come to embrace it. It doesn't have to become an obsession, but it becomes very important to me, for example, and for many gay boys, to be reminded that you are a boy. Just because you don't behave typically according to the way most boys behave, it doesn't mean you're a girl. It doesn't. In fact, you can have two sexes and a vast variety of ways to express being male or female. Much more interesting diversity of how you do that than simply this other thing that Jon Stewart brought up, which is that there is a spectrum that goes from G.I. Joe to Barbie. And you have to fit somewhere in the middle of that. What on earth is that? What on earth is that? What's strange is that progressive ideology is presenting us with the most hoary old stereotypes, telling gay children if they don't live up to certain stereotypes, they could be the other sex.
Right.
And the people who are going through this mistakenly are overwhelmingly gay children. And that is why I am particularly frustrated that the perspective of gay people has been subsumed within the LGBTQIA plus movement.
Yes.
Which seeks to essentially remove us.
Yes. So I think I've told you this before, but one of my good gay friends is like, why do we have to share letters with them? It's not working out. Like we shouldn't, we're not in the same group with the same interests. But I will tell you, Stewart's whole bit was about taking aim at Matt Walsh too on what is a woman, mocking Tucker for saying there are only two sexes. And his evidence that these are hypocrites who don't know what they're talking about is clips where, for example, you've got women from Fox saying, I was a tomboy growing up. That's somehow an acknowledgement that there are more than two biological sexes, that there's more than two genders. No, it's not. As you said, and I've short formed it the following way, we're Big Tent. We women, we have a big tent. Guys, you have a big tent. You can be gender nonconforming and still be a man. You can be gender nonconforming and still be a woman. It's not hypocritical to have said, I'm a tomboy, and then say there are only two sexes. And Jon Stewart is in no position to be lecturing anyone on this. I mean, go back and look at his history, because I was at Fox News when he was doing all of this. And I remember, of all places, Al Jazeera wrote an article about him after he attacked yours truly while I was on my maternity leave with my baby. And their headline at Al Jazeera was, "The Daily Show has a woman problem." Women were constantly belittled on his show for being women, this piece points out. Valerie Plame, the CIA spy who was outed, he called her a fuckable blonde. Laura Bush joked about her being covered in horse semen. Condi Rice suggested she may have earned her Secret Service nickname Ping Pong Ball, the old-fashioned way. They were accusing him of lazy, sexist jibes and asking the following: why does the show not hold itself to the feminist yardstick by which it measures the rest of the world? This, as he accuses you of being a bigot on his show. And Bill Donahue of the Catholic League pointed out, this is a guy who defended a comedian who picked on a black couple in the audience in 2008, that a black writer for Jon Stewart came out and accused him of using racist voice impressions, which he did in imitating Herman Cain, which Herman Cain came out and said was an Amos and Andy impression, not an impression of Herman Cain. Then the black writer raised it again with Stewart. Stewart again screamed at him, apparently, reportedly to F off. The guy had an emotional breakdown after Stewart's treatment of him. This is all documented in the Bill Donahue piece and also in the Al Jazeera piece, not to mention the stuff he says about the Catholic Church, so he can take a seat. So here's something you may not know about me. I hate spreadsheets. Hate hate. Abby will deal with them, but I see it. I'm like, oh no, I won't even look at one. They make my mind glaze over. I see it's happening right now, just thinking about them. And you may be like me. If so, I have got the solution for you. If your business is still using spreadsheets or emails to manage important sales commissions, there is another way, a better way. Or what if your support and your operations staff is feeling totally stretched and unhappy and stressed out? Are your salespeople constantly trying to piece together the puzzle for what are we getting paid? What's the potential? Like, what we're missing? What do we need to know? Well, Clear Comp has got the answer for you. They have the solution. Clear Comp is a one-stop shop for your business to manage sales commission documentation like commission plan info, product info, and facts. It's basically a sales operations and sales enablement dream platform. ClearComp works seamlessly with your billing, CRM, ERP, and HR systems, all with the goal of helping your org become more efficient and helping your sales team become more productive. Their dashboards and tools help you identify low-hanging fruit, what opportunities are hot, where you can improve that you hadn't even been thinking about. And as a salesperson, no more black box commission statements and no more hunting around for the latest and greatest decks and one-sheeters. Modernize your sales organization today by visiting clearcomp.com. That's ClearComp.com. Book a demo. Tell them I sent you. You're welcome. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.